Well, hello. We appear to be live. This is Troy Francis. I am coming at you from none other than Puerto Rico. Yes, I'm on the beautiful, beautiful island of Puerto Rico for a few days. I'm doing some work here, or I am seeing a client here anyway, which we can talk more about in a little while. So I said earlier on that I was going to do a live stream today, and I did a little poll, and quite a few people came back and said that yes, it would be a good idea to live stream. So hence what we're doing here now. And yeah, here we are. So I don't know how many people are going to tune in. We might, as is normal with these things, get more people coming through on the replay than we do on the live, and that's absolutely fine. So if you're watching this on the replay, hello, welcome to the stream. But if you are here live and you have questions about dating, about sex, about relationships, or about traveling as well, because I've been doing quite a lot of that recently, then put them into the chat and we will deal with them as we go through. So I've got a topic to talk to you about today, which is why you should never compromise yourself for a woman or for a relationship. So we're going to get into that in a moment. But I suppose before that, just a little bit of an update, a little bit of a channel update, since we've not done that for a little while. So, as I say, I'm in Puerto Rico right now. I'm doing some work with a friend of mine who we are spending a few days together, and I am helping him with some of his dating issues. We did day one today, and it was great. A lot of fun, great guy. We went out and about, and yeah, had a blast here. We're going to be going out over the weekend as well. There's a festival in Puerto Rico this weekend, the Saint Sebastian Festival, which we are going to be attending tomorrow and on Saturday as well. So really looking forward to that. And aside from that, I've been enjoying. Went to the beach yesterday, which was pretty nice. Went swimming this morning in the pool, which is really nice. Trying to get a little bit of sunshine, a little bit of rest and relaxation, as well as obviously working. I mean, last night, I tell you what, people think the lifestyle of sort of traveling around and doing all this stuff is sort of glamorous or fun. And obviously there are fun elements to it. But I have to say, last night, I was going to go out, actually. I wanted to go to Old Town last night, and I was just exhausted by the evening, to be honest. And also I had work to do. So I ended up basically coming back to the suite where I'm staying and just kind of cracking on with a bunch of work, and then literally just collapsing into bed and just watching some British TV and then falling asleep. So it's not all glamour. It's not all glitz and glamour. There's a fairly mundane side to all of this stuff as well. So before that, I was in Mexico City. I was there with James Tusk and with Les, and Ege was there as well. Ege, the charming man. You may have seen a couple of videos on this channel with me and him. We recorded them on the roof of the place we were staying in Mexico City. Mexico City, I've got to say, was an absolute blast. It really is a fantastic place. And once again, slap over the knuckles for me, because I didn't really take full advantage of being there, to be honest. I was a little bit lazy with the old sightseeing. We spent most of the time in Palenque, which is the super art market area where I think Tusk normally stays, and where we've taught students and so on before. Very, very cool, very nice area. Loads of amazing restaurants, amazing bars, places to go out around the Palenque area. But I spent basically a whole week there without really going anywhere else, which in hindsight is a bit of a waste, because I would have liked to have seen more of the city. And I saw a bit more of the city on the final morning when I was getting a taxi through to the airport. And it's a really beautiful place, really, really interesting. The people are really cool. So I'm definitely going to be back there at some point. But it was just really busy. We had a bunch of guys we were working with. We put them through their paces over 5 or 6 days. And yeah, it was great. Then I flew over to Puerto Rico. I came via the US. Obviously Puerto Rico is a US, state, part of, or not state, but it's part of the US really. So I came through the US. It was a very long day of traveling, even though geographically I don't think it's that far. It took me bloody hours. having to pick up the baggage at the connecting airport, putting the baggage back on, all of this nonsense. It was pretty stressful in the stages. But got here, and then, as I say, yesterday, went out and about, went to the beach, which was really nice. And today, working with the client, a good friend of mine, super cool. And yeah, we're going to have more fun over the weekend. In terms of the ladies here, they seem to be very attractive. I mean, it's a Latin culture. Everywhere you go, there's reggaeton blasting out from the bars. I believe Daddy Yankee lives here, of Gasolina fame. I'm told Bad Bunny lives here as well. So it really is the epicenter of sort of Latin music and Latin partying, and never more so than this weekend, because as I said, the San Sebastian festival is on this weekend, so that's going to be a lot of fun as well, and we're going to be going out for that. So if anyone's in Puerto Rico, or you can get here, then give me a shout, and maybe we can grab a drink or something like that. Anyway, with all of that being said, what else as far as channel updates concerned? Well, putting up videos daily, dating videos now, the walking videos, as always, people seem to get a lot of value from them. So we're going to continue with those. Lots more exciting content to come up, shot in various places across the globe. So you're going to have lots of interesting things to watch. Let's now talk about the topic, okay? And as I say, if you have questions, if there's anything that you want to ask, put it into the chat. This is a little bit late for the British viewers. Americans, I guess it's kind of, I guess it's kind of okay for American viewers. But if you are watching this live, you've got questions, you want to talk about any aspect of dating, put it in the chat. Right, so what is the topic? Well, the topic is, and actually this is another Reddit thing, so I'm going to put it on the screen. And we can have a look. That's not big enough, is it? As she said. Okay, so look, here's a post on Reddit that I pulled out, and I wanted us to have a look at. So let's have a look at it. This guy has said, and this is on the dating advice Reddit, he said, I can't ever secure a date as someone who never does anything myself. And he's put does in inverted commas to emphasize it. I am a 25-year-old guy, employed full-time, a marathon runner. So that's very important to me, my physical, but also mental health. And as such, I prioritize it. It takes up a lot of my spare time. More on that later. Because of this, my spare time outside of these activities is spent as a nerdy homebody. I mostly watch TV, movies, and play games. Also, I play music in a band. Pretty low commitment at the moment, which just got together for fun once in a while, and he reads. I don't like restaurants and bars because, going back to the running thing, I take nutrition seriously. Putting all of this together, I wouldn't know what to do on a first date anymore. I kind of envy people who've been dating for a while and are at a point where they can just hang out and like watch a movie or talk or cook together, or just daily boring stuff. TLDR, how do I date if I'm not really into doing anything? Okay. So it's an interesting question. Now, you might think the answer to this question is, well, this guy needs to get more hobbies and this guy needs to be more interesting. I don't believe that is the answer to the question. Okay. I think actually this is one of these things where, look, the guy's priority is running. The guy's priority is running marathons. Okay. He stated that this is what he's passionate about. This is his thing. All right. And as a result of that, he chooses not to do so much in his spare time. He likes to have a quiet time in his spare time. He watches movies, he reads a bit, and occasionally plays music in this band. I think that's fair enough. I think that he shouldn't compromise himself in order to get a date, because, as I say, the received wisdom might be, well, he should, learn salsa dancing, or he should go partying, or he should, I don't know, go to festivals or something like that in order to meet women and kind of fall into their frame. I don't think that's the case. I think he needs to own the fact that actually his passion is running marathons, and as a result of that, he just doesn't want to do the ordinary things. Okay. Now, is that going to put off a number of girls? Well, yeah, probably. It very likely is. There's going to be a lot of women who think it's a bit boring. There's going to be a lot of women who just, they're just like, well, this guy is like, he doesn't fucking do anything. I want to go to the club. I want to go partying. I want to go to the San Sebastian Festival in Puerto Rico with Troy Francis, and this guy is not going to deliver that, so he's a loser. Okay, well, fine. If they want to think that, they want to think that. This is one of these things. You know, we always get these motivational quotes, don't we, on Instagram or on, you know, other social media platforms, where people are saying, you've got to follow your dream, you've got to follow your mission, you've got to be committed, and all of that. And you do have to, but you've actually got to put your money where your mouth is. And that means not bowing to societal pressure, and certainly not bowing to the pressure of a member of the opposite sex just because you want to be intimate with them, or just because you want to try and date them or get laid. Okay, you've got to keep your mission central. Now, this guy's mission, as he has stated it, is running marathons, and in order to facilitate that, he needs to be careful of his nutrition. He needs to get proper rest. He doesn't probably want to be up too late at night. He likes to chill in between his training. Okay, so he needs to stick with it, I believe, and he needs to ruthlessly screen out women who don't think that that's what he should be doing. Okay, I don't think this is about changing in order to please other people, or changing in order to hopefully attract somebody who, you know, because then he's giving up his dream. All right, then he's giving up his dream of being this marathon runner for somebody else. And believe me, I mean, as great as sex is, as great as romance is, as great as dating is, and those are all great things, if you compromise on your dream, if you compromise on the thing that you feel that you have to do in order to make your life worthwhile, that is not a compromise that's worth making. Okay, so he needs to stick to his guns. As I say, he needs to ruthlessly screen out those women who think that it's not cool, and he needs to find those women who think that it is cool. And maybe he could meet, you know, a girl who's also into running marathons, and she gets it, she understands. It might take him longer to find a date, to find a relationship, because he's not prepared to compromise on these things. But I still think that's the right decision ultimately. Okay, because you have to remain true to yourself. And I've been saying this in videos recently, right? You have to remain true to yourself. You have to be an individual. Okay, even if that seems to be going against the grain of what society would have you do, even if that's going against the grain of what you think the women around you would like you to do or to be in order for them to be intimate with you. Okay, in the final analysis, that stuff, yes, it's important, but you've got to stick to your guns, even if that means maybe having a less prolific dating life for a period of time, or, you know, even foregoing some opportunities, because ultimately what is more important? It has to be the mission. It has to be the bigger vision in your life. Okay. Any questions, whack them into the chat. Which type of guy in the universe the girl gets stick with? Heart, 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 heart. Absolutely. I'm not sure what he means by that, but maybe he will clarify. Troy, should a man in his early 20s be worried about dating or get money instead? I think this is a question that comes up a lot. I think it needs to be both, really, because if you really, really, really had to pick one, I would probably say money, because that's going to set you up. If you can get yourself sorted in your 20s, then you're going to be in a really, really good position going forward. So I would say if there was and had to pick one, I would say probably getting money. But realistically, because there isn't a gun to my head, and these things are always nuanced, and it's not, you know, it doesn't have to be an either or decision. I would say ultimately you kind of need to be doing both. And the reason I say that is because, say you spend all of your 20s grinding and going monk mode and making a load of money, and you do that, even if you do that successfully, and then you come out at 30 and you've made a pile of money and you're rich, and you say, right, now I'm going to start dating. Now I'm going to go out and meet that perfect girl, and I'm going to, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Firstly, you're going to have zero experience in the dating marketplace, and that is dangerous. Okay, that is dangerous, because you need to understand what's going on out there. You need to have social adeptness. And for many of us, most of us perhaps, that doesn't come naturally. Okay. So you need to get that social awareness. You need to get that social skill set down. Okay. And the other thing, and this is arguably even more important, is if you don't do that, okay, if you don't get some sort of experience, if you don't practice social skills, etc., there is a danger that you could fall prey to a woman who does not have your best interests at heart, let's say. And that is a woman who perhaps might be a gold digger, okay? Or she doesn't care about you as much as she cares about the money that you have, all right? And this is something that we see time and time again with guys who have narrowly focused on their careers in their younger lives to the exclusion of practicing dating, practicing social skills, understanding the dating marketplace as it stands. Okay. And those guys have gone on to meet women who haven't had their best interests at heart and haven't really wanted to treat them well and haven't been interested in treating them well and actually have been there just to siphon money from them. So you've got to be. I'm not making the claim that all women are going to do that, or there are all these women hanging around like vultures just waiting to to pounce. But the reality is, if you don't have experience in this area, you are going to be more likely to fall prey to that sort of experience. Okay, so I think we need to do both. And actually, it's not even just those two things. It's money, muscles, game, frame, isn't it? As MLD would say. We need to be working on dating and social skills. Okay, we need to be going out there and talking to people and practicing that stuff, getting some experience there. We also need to be working on our career, working on our money. Okay, we also need to be working on our fitness. We also need to be looking at our grooming, the way that we present ourselves. And we need to be thinking now, frame is more about mental fortitude. It's more about stoicism and the ability to withstand difficult challenges. Okay. We need to be working on that mindset stuff as well. So I think all four pillars are essential. And as guys, as men, we don't really, unfortunately, get a let off. We don't get a pat on the back and a sick note from mum and we can spend the day off, sitting at home watching cartoons. We don't get that luxury. We have to kind of do everything. We're expected to be good at everything. It's like Rich Cooper says, women aren't bothered about the struggle. They sit at the finish line and they get intimate with the winners. Okay. You've got to be one of the winners. Nobody cares about your struggle. Nobody cares how hard it is. Nobody cares that you had to get up at 5 a.m. and you don't want to get up at 5 a.m. You want to stay in bed. Nobody gives a damn about that. All they give a damn about is the tangible results. Okay. You have to be one of the winners, and that means working on everything. Okay, you don't want to be a chump. And look, I mean, in this profession, we meet many people who have made a lot of money. We meet many people who've made a lot of money through different means, whether that's through trading or cryptocurrency or business or whatever it is, combination of all of the above. A lot of people who've made a lot of money. Does that mean that they are automatically acing it in the dating marketplace? No. Of course it doesn't. Otherwise, they wouldn't come to see us, would they? I mean, our main client base now, really, and I say our, I mean myself, James Tusk, Les, people of that ilk. Our main client base really is very rich, successful men who can afford to hire us, frankly, who can afford our services, which are not cheap, but who need help in this area. So just making the money, yes, it's great from a career and a financial security side of things, but it's not going to help you in the cruel jungle of the dating marketplace. Okay. Let's have a look. And by the way, more questions. Put them into the chat. I'll get through them. I'm 20. So this is Orthodox Boxing, and he says again. This is a second comment. I'm 22, and I find that I have addictive personality. So once I go into dating, I go all in and focus on that entirely. It's such a time waster, even if I get late. I would agree with that point. I'm exactly the same. I have a very addictive personality myself, which is why I don't drink anymore, which is why I don't touch, narcotics anymore because I had to cut that stuff out because I got into a lot of trouble with it. Dating, sex, intimacy, relationships, all of this stuff is without a doubt incredibly addictive. And make no mistake, people can get into big trouble with this stuff just as they can with narcotic substances or with alcohol. There's no doubt about it. There are fellowships, just as there are rehabs for alcohol addiction, and there are rehabs and meetings that you can go to for narcotic addictions. There are also rehab courses and meetings that you can attend to help with sex related problems as well, because this stuff is incredibly addictive, and it's particularly if you're somebody who's prone to addiction anyway, like I am, then without a shadow of a doubt, this stuff, this dating stuff, sex, relationships, whatever you want to, whatever side of things you're on, can also be incredibly compulsive and can cause people a lot of problems in their lives. And it's in a way a more insidious addiction than, say, alcohol, because at least with alcohol, you can say, right, I'm just not going to drink alcohol ever again, and that's it. With relationships, it's not quite as easy as that. I mean, you could swear off ever having a relationship again, but you wouldn't necessarily, or ever having sex again, but you wouldn't necessarily have a very happy life then, because most people, that is kind of a natural part of life. It's something that arguably we need in a way that we don't need to put ethanol alcohol into our systems. So then it becomes a matter of controlling it. But okay, well, what is excessive and what is not excessive? Now, if you're running around every night trying to meet different women and partying, and you're doing that to the point where it's like you're saying about going all in on dating, if you're doing it to a point where it's causing problems in other areas of your life, then it may be that you've become excessive with it and you need to moderate. And that's certainly something that happened to me. I mean, arguably, and we're talking about people in their 20s now, I spent a lot of my 20s, all of my 20s actually, basically just chasing, I mean, I was drinking and I was doing substances as well. But basically, I was just chasing the high of sexual intimacy, okay? Am I glad that I spent my 20s in that way? No, hell no. I mean, I wish I'd been grinding. I wish I'd been making money. I wish I'd been getting my career into a decent shape. I wasn't doing that at all. I was very dissolute throughout all of my 20s and really into my 30s as well. And I should really, if I could, I mean, I don't believe that you should have regrets. I don't believe that you should go back and really want to change anything, because we learn from everything. But if I was going to change something, it would probably be that. It would probably be that I would want to have spent a bit less time on the dating stuff and a bit more time on the grind. Okay. I really want to get the microphone, actually. Can you guys just bear with me if I go and grab the microphone? I want to improve the sound on this. Put more questions into the chat. Somebody says here, Donovan says, with kids and a vindictive ex, it's very hard not to be compromised. Yeah, I get it, man. I hear what you're saying. I'm not really talking about that in this title. What I'm talking about here is that I've titled this "Do Not Compromise Yourself for a Woman," and what I really mean is don't compromise yourself for a relationship. Don't compromise yourself in order to date, in order to try to become intimate. Okay. Because it's not really worth it. In the final analysis, your mission, your goals, the things that you actually want to achieve in this brief period of time while we're still on this planet, that's what you should be most focused on, not the fleeting affections of some woman. Okay, so that's what I mean in the sense of don't compromise yourself for a woman. Obviously, in this situation, you've had a relationship with her, you've had a kid and everything else. That's a somewhat different situation. And I agree, unfortunately, in many cases, maybe your hands are a little bit tied in terms of the legalities of that and the practicalities of that. So, but that's kind of slightly different to what I am talking about here. Okay, so any more questions, any more comments, put them into the chat. Just give me 1 second. I'm just going to grab the mic. Hold on. And we're back. How professional. Okay, so Peanut says, hey Troy, what do you think of a 37-year-old guy moving to Asia to retire with a bit of money versus grinding it out in a corporate job? Well, look, I mean, I think it's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it, really? If you like Asia, the only caveat I would say is, have you visited already? I'm just in this. I'm just staying in some right. See if that improves the audio a little bit. I'm staying obviously in a hotel at the moment, so I've got some various things with me. So I'm just going to change over the. Right. Okay. That changes over the audio, so hopefully that improves it a little bit. I think, to be frank, that it's a bit of a no-brainer. I think as long as you like Asia, and as long as you've checked it out and done your due diligence, and maybe been a couple of times, because if you've just been once on holiday in 1997 and you can't really remember it, then you may want to sort of go and check it out again, whichever country we're talking about here. But I think basically, yeah, I mean, why not do that? What is the point of grinding it out in corporate work, making money, or for the most part, making money for somebody else for years and years and years in some corporate job that you probably don't like very much? It doesn't sound like you like it very much. Grinding away, when actually for a fraction of the cost, you could be living in some Asian country and probably having a much more exciting and interesting dating and personal life. I mean, what are we really on this planet for? Ultimately, well, nothing really. We're not really on this planet for anything, because I think all of life essentially is pretty meaningless. I believe that we are here by some cosmic accident, some random cosmic accident. I don't think there is any overarching purpose to any of this, really. But if you had to assign a purpose to our existence here, I would say that one would assign more weight to interpersonal human relationships rather than working in a cubicle. I think that's pretty clear, isn't it? I think that's a bit of a no-brainer. So yeah, I would 100% encourage you to move. What country are we talking about? Let me know what country, just out of interest. Going in dry says Troy Francis, the hidden gem of dating advice. Thank you very much. This MFer is real. It helps to be a tripod if you don't have a lot of money. I'm not sure what he means by that. Oh, right. So, okay. So, Alpha Interactions is saying, Damien here from Ireland, 37-year-old male, self-employed business owner, 5'10", very well groomed with a 3-goal rotation. I have one goal pushing heavy for commitment and exclusivity. Oh, dear. And he doesn't have a question with that, but he might be going to ask, clarify what the question is, Alpha Interactions. But if you're going to ask, should you throw in the towel for the girl who's pushing heavy for commitment? Well, I don't know. It's a question for you. I would say probably not, but it depends what you want ultimately. But clarify if that's a question, what the question is. Miles says the audio is better. Good stuff. I just plugged in the old mic. Have you been to Belarus? Would you recommend? I actually haven't, unfortunately. I've heard very, very good things about it from various people. We were nearly going to go. We were nearly going to go last year, but politically, well, for various reasons, politically, it's maybe not the best time to go. But do your own research on that. But yeah, I mean, I've heard it's great, and I actually dated. Well, I've dated a couple. I've met various Belarusian girls. I dated a very, very, very beautiful Belarusian girl for a while over in Berlin, actually. So yeah, I mean, definitely worth a go. But I would check out the sort of the political situation at the moment. What hair product do you use? Like the volume? This is American Crew Fiber, which I really like. I've used that for some time. The other one I used to use is Fudge, but I've started to use this American Crew Fiber a lot more now, and it's pretty damn good. And then Donovan says, never throwing the towel. I'm not sure what you're referring to there, but yes, you should absolutely stick to your guns in any area of life, really. Okay, so this is a good one. The OFT says, what is the best mindset for a man to get over heartbreak, serious one-itis as quick as possible? It's a difficult one, man. And if you watch back on this channel over, well, last year, a lot of the videos last year, a lot of the content on the channel was really concerned with me getting over an ex, you know, or sort of mourning the loss of that person in my life. And to be honest, I don't think that loss has really been entirely relieved even yet. The only thing you can do, and it's the old cliche, is give it time, unfortunately. But it depends. There's a lot of questions here. I mean, how long were you with her for? Were you actually with her, or was it just a one-itis and you weren't even really actually with her? I mean, to put it crudely, if you were with somebody for 2 months, then it's going to be easier and quicker to get over that than if you were with them for 10 years. So there is a sort of a degree of like how enmeshed you guys were. I think the only thing you can do really is go no contact. You know, no contact. Don't follow them on social media. Don't talk to them. Block them on everything. Don't talk to them. Don't talk to their friends. If anyone mentions them when you're present, tell them to stop or just leave. You know, just don't entertain a conversation about them. You've got to just completely cut them out of your life as if they died or as if they were never there in the first place. That's all you can do. And then take it one day at a time. And don't expect the recovery, because it is like a withdrawal. It's like a withdrawal from a drug or from alcohol or anything else. Don't expect the recovery to be linear. You know, you may go for a period of time and think, oh, this is great, I'm all right now. And then suddenly something just triggers it off again. You know, triggers off that sadness. That happened to me, actually, even as recently as Christmas. I was in London, in a particular part of London at Christmas, and it reminded me of my ex, and it really brought all the feelings flooding back once again. And we're talking about like nearly 2 years down the line now. So there, as I say, but it depends on how enmeshed you were with her, maybe how long you were with her, and everything else. But these things take time, as Morrissey said. And sometimes, for me anyway, I'm a bit of a maudlin sort of, you know, depressive kind of fuck. And in some ways, I don't even want to get over it. Do you know what I mean? Like there was a part of me that if you lose something that's really valuable to you, and whether you are the dumper or the dumpee, by the way, you know, this isn't about what side of the fence you were on, whether she just left you or you left her, or it was some sort of combination of the two. If you lose somebody that's important to you, I mean, for me, as I say, I think there's a sort of stubbornness about me that, you know, I just kind of want to hang on to have an excuse to be miserable, maybe, because that can be a crutch as well. But there can be a mindset where you actually don't want to get over it, really. You want to kind of wallow in it. And that's dangerous as well. I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that does anybody any good. So, you know, acceptance is the key, really. It's accepting that it's over, but even that can be difficult. Peanut said, what percentage of the year do you spend at home? Well, home is a question mark, as Morrissey sang. Do you feel a sense of community? Well, yes, I do. I have in London. London is really where I'm based. Although last year I wasn't actually there very much. I was there for the first 3 or 4 months. And then after that, I was away for quite a lot of the time. And in London, I've got like a bunch of friends and people that I've known for a long time. And I do feel a sense of community there, yes. But given the nature of the work and what I'm doing, travel has increasingly become a part of that. And so I spend time obviously away like I am now. And but, you know, I'm connected with the people back home. I'm messaging, we're talking all the time and stuff like that. So it is what it is. I mean, I'm not completely nomadic in the way that somebody like Tusk is nomadic. I mean, Tusk, I think it's fair to say, spends pretty much all of his time on the road. I'm a little bit of a halfway house. You know, I've spent more time on the road last year than probably ever before. And the year before, I was away quite a lot as well. But I still have a base, you know. I haven't completely cut the cord. So, it's a little bit different for me, I think. Any more questions? Obviously, please put them into the chat. We've got a few more people have put some things in here to deal with. What do you think of the States? Is it somewhere you'd want to live? Well, I'm in the States now, although, well, Puerto Rico is it's kind of part of the States. And then I'm going to be going over. I've got a few bits and pieces to do in the USA itself, or mainland USA. And I mean, I feel very European, to be honest. I've had fun times in Miami. I love New York, or I have loved New York. I mean, I haven't been there for a long time, but I've got a lot of affection for New York. Where else? Vegas. Don't particularly like Vegas, really. And I'm going to be going to LA, actually. I'm going to be going to Los Angeles soon. So that's going to be interesting. Would I live there? It's weird, actually, because I was saying to a friend the other day, as I said, I feel very European. So I like going to those European countries. I like going to Poland. I like going to France. I like going to Germany. Everywhere on that side of the world, I feel like I appreciate it. I like it. I like the culture. I like the sort of old culture that you get in those places. Obviously, the States is a different kettle of fish. But in saying that, maybe it's because of the shared language, because we all speak the English language, or maybe it's because culturally we are kind of similar. There is a feeling I get when I go to the US, when I come into the US, of actually this is sort of a home from home in a way. It's not because I love US culture and, like I'm overjoyed when I come in and I see an Arby's or a fucking, like a massive McDonald's or something like that. I'm like, oh, this is great. There's a certain tackiness about some elements of American culture which go against my more European sensibilities. But there is also a sort of kinship, in terms of the culture as well. And you get off the plane in Miami and you talk to the guy who's, I don't know, serving the coffee or whatever. And you think, yeah, I get it. We are quite similar, actually. So it's a nuanced thing, really. I think in many ways my heart is in Europe, but if I was going to settle anywhere, it would probably be easier and more comfortable for me just to move to New York or something. So then Orthodox Boxing says, is it bad that I use the pain of heartbreak to motivate myself to prove her wrong? I want to hang on to this pain for motivation. I don't think it's wrong. No, I think that, without sounding new age about it, it's your pain. It's your pain. You can use it for how you want to use it. I mean, I think it can be quite a good thing, actually, to use pain as a motivator. I've certainly done that in the past, and it's very effective, actually. But I don't think that you should be doing anything to try to get revenge or anything like that. I don't even think, say you're going to the gym and you're working out and you're like, right, I want to prove to, I want to become super ripped, super shredded so I can show her what she's lost. That's great that you're going to the gym, but it shouldn't be with a view to, I'm going to show her, because that means, in having that mindset, that means that you're still stuck in a game with her, that you're trying to impress her, or you're trying to be like, haha, look at me now. It should be nothing to do with her. She should be completely cut out. Okay. You can satisfy yourself at night with the thinking of, oh, if she could see me now, how impressed would she be? But you don't want her to actually see you, because you don't want to still be in a mindset where her opinion or her validation has any power for you, if that makes sense. So use the motivation by all means, but not to try to prove her wrong, or at least not with a view to meeting her again or her seeing you on social media or something. You want to block her on everything and never see her again and never speak to her again. Okay. If that makes sense. There's a subtle difference there. It's not about going up to her and going, haha, see what I've done. See, you were an idiot to leave me. It's more about the quiet satisfaction inside that if she did see you now, that she would probably regret it. But you're never going to see her again because that part of your life is closed. You no longer have anything to prove to her. Her validation no longer means anything to you. You don't care what she thinks of you either way, okay? Because it's finished. That's where you've got to get to. Otherwise, you're still stuck in some kind of weird mental game with her, even if it's under the surface. So, ace is high. What is the best way to get back into the dating game if you've been out for a long time and you're rusty? Well, there's no easy way, really. You need to jump in the deep end and basically go and start talking to people, going to start socializing and so on. I mean, of course, there are the dating apps, the beloved dating apps that we all know and love so well. I don't know if you're on those. You could fire those up and see if there's any, prospects out there, or on these dating apps. I mean, as we know, guys generally tend to do better when they're meeting people in real life than on the apps. But the apps might kickstart things for you. You might get a couple of dates through that. That could be a couple of not easy wins, but you might get some dates through that, which will get you out there again. Beyond that, there is no easy way. The obstacle is the way. You need to get out there, go to social settings, go to social situations and start talking to people. That's the only way you're going to break out of this, okay? And yes, in the beginning, some of those conversations may be cringe. Some of them may be crap. You may be very in your head, you may not be socially adept or socially effective in the way that perhaps you were before. Well, so what? Let yourself off the hook. Forgive yourself for the awkwardness, okay? Because you know that in doing this, you're going to get better and you're going to get back to where you were before. So allow yourself to be crap, okay? Allow yourself to be crap at social interactions at the beginning. And you'll start to see the benefits as time goes by. But really, there is no answer to this other than the obvious answer of going out there and just doing it. Max Pause. If a woman ghosts you, what's the best way to not let her win? Also known as take the I'm better than him, that's why I ghosted him trophy. Well, I think that is a similar question to Orthodox Boxing's question, which is that, look, if she ghosts you, she's ghosted you. I mean, what are you going to do? Go around to her house and go like, haha, look, I'm really ripped now. You shouldn't have ghosted me because now you regret it. I mean, the way to not let her win is to never speak to her again, basically. And, what kind of win does she have anyway? Maybe a momentary satisfaction. She's going to have her own problems. She's going to not going to be able to get the Chad that she wanted to, to get married to. She's going to get dumped by some guy, whatever. Like, her win in this situation is minuscule. And look, I mean, the best revenge is success. The best thing that you can do is go on and be successful for yourself and attract other women into your life who are, better suited to you. And that's the way that you win. The way that you win is not by in some way trying to rub her nose in it, because that means that you're staged in a game with her. And the game should have ended because you've got nothing to prove to her anymore. And her validation should mean nothing to you because this is a woman that's ghosted you. So why do you care what she thinks? If you've got a woman who's disrespected you to the point where she ghosted you, then her subsequent opinion, why should that mean anything to you? You should just never speak to this woman again because she's disrespected you, okay? So don't be thinking about like, oh, how can I make her... It's almost like this sense of like, how can I make her regret what she's done? And the answer is you can't, but you shouldn't want to. Because as soon as she does the ghosting, her opinion and her validation of you should be meaningless as far as you're concerned. So just stop playing the game with these women who are no longer in your life. Fuck getting one up on her. To hell with, getting the win again versus her or whatever. All of it's meaningless because as soon as she ghosts you or as soon as she leaves you, she should no longer have any importance in your consciousness at all because she's lost the right to have that, if that makes sense. And the very fact of you trying to get the L, to take the L back from her, shows that you still care about what she thinks. But you shouldn't, because in caring about what she thinks, you're still losing. if that makes sense. I had a really long day today, so I'm maybe not articulating this as well as I could, but I hope you understand what I'm saying there. You know, you're almost, in caring what she thinks and wanting her to not have the L, it shows that you still care, and therefore you're the loser. You know, because she's not the loser because she doesn't give a damn. She's ghosted you. She's off doing whatever she's doing. So you need to not care as well. That's the way to get the out, to get the win. So, and please, more questions, stick them into the chat. Faku says, I broke up with an older woman full of red flags that proved to be true. Still can't get over her. What can I do? Well, you know, I mean, how do you get over anybody, really? No contact. Try to concentrate on other things. Rigorous, relentless self-improvement. And more no contact. You know, all you can, and taking it a day at a time. I can't emphasize the importance of that. And it sounds trite, although it is a cornerstone in recovery, actually, recovery from alcohol addiction. You know, the mantra is always, it's one day at a time. All you have to do when you give up drinking, if you go to something like Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, all they will say to you is, all you have to do is get to bed tonight, get your head on the pillow without picking up another drink. All right. You don't have to worry about, oh, how am I going to get through the next, 25 years, or how am I going to get through my cousin's wedding in 3 months' time without drinking? All you've got to worry about, don't worry about any of that. Don't worry about the future. All you've got to worry about is today. What can you do today? I've got to do the work that I need to do. I've got to see the people that I need to see. I've got to, blah, whatever responsibilities you have, and then get to bed at night without picking up another drink. So in your case, it is get to bed tonight without picking up the phone and calling her, or messaging her, or looking at her Instagram, or looking at her Facebook, or looking at her, Twitter, or whatever it is. Okay. You've got to do no contact, and you've got to do it every day for that day. Okay. And that's all you can do. And some days are going to be harder than others. Some days are going to be easy and you're not going to think about it so much. Other days are going to be really hard. And that's just how it fucking goes. And you've got to tough it out. But the way to tough it out is not to think, I'm never going to speak to her again, or putting it into those sort of terms. All you've got to think about is, right, today, what do I do? I've got to not call her. I've got to not message her. I've got to not look at her social media. I've got to not email her. And I've got to get to bed tonight without having done those things. And if you keep doing that, if you build up enough days, in the end, it's going to get easier. And you're going to think about her less, and it's going to become less of an issue in your life. Okay? So time heals, but time is broken up into individual segments of time, individual days, individual hours, individual minutes. Okay? And you've got to work through all of each of those segments without surrendering to the triggers that are going to make this worse. Because what is going to make this worse, when you break up with anybody, what makes it worse, inevitably, always, is recommencing contact with them, unfortunately. Because as soon as you reignite that contact with the person, it all comes flooding back. And then you're screwed. Or then you're back to the same as you were, and sometimes even worse. Okay? It's like a relapse with alcohol or relapse with drugs. So that's the thing. You've got to just have no contact, and you've got to maintain that on a daily basis and just keep moving forward. CJP, any tips on making the first approach of a session faster? Sometimes it's hard to get started and then end up overthinking it. Yeah, I mean, the first one is the worst one. You've got to, if you're in a social situation and you want to talk to people, you've just got to start talking to people. Of course, the first time it is difficult because you feel rusty and you feel socially impaired. Like, say you're at a party and you're like, right, I want to go and talk to somebody, and you haven't, maybe you've been at work all day and you're in your head, whatever. You've got to break the ice with somebody. I would say the best way to do it is, firstly, recognize that the first interaction is going to be the worst and it's the most nerve-wracking and that you need to get it out of the way. And secondly, lower the bar for yourself on that first interaction. Make it as easy for yourself as possible. If it's just a question of saying, hey, I just wanted to say you look really cool. Anyway, hope you have a nice night. See you later. Even if it's just that, at least you've started to take action. At least you've opened your mouth. You've started to talk. You've started to socialize. Okay. So I would say keep the bar very low at the beginning. And the other thing is, don't be afraid, like I said earlier, for it to be a bit cringe. Don't be afraid to mess it up. Sometimes interactions are cringe. Sometimes they don't go very well. Sometimes you feel like you said the wrong thing, or you wish you'd said something else, or blah, 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 blah. Well, so what? It's better to do that and take action rather than not taking action. So that's what I think. Set the bar low and just get in there. Arby says good sandwiches. I've not tried. Maybe I'll try it. Admit you're a Biden fan. When is your boot camp? Well, I mean, we're doing things all through the year. So get in touch. Just email me, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, and we can discuss. And tell me where you're based as well. Well, did you know, Matt? Maybe you're not based anywhere. But put your WhatsApp number in, and we can discuss doing some coaching. Check out Innisbrook. The place rocks. Okay. What do you think about a guy getting married but having mistresses on the side? This is very common in Asia and seems like the right approach, in my opinion. Well, I think it's very common everywhere, to be honest. I mean, they used to talk about this in terms of France, funnily enough. There used to be this idea, I don't know why France. I suppose it was always thought to be a sort of a slightly naughty kind of place where, they were slightly decadent. But yeah, there was always this idea that in France, the guy would get married and he would remain faithful to the wife, but he would have mistresses on the side, and it was all sort of unspoken and not really talked about. I mean, it happens in the UK as well, in the royal family, for example. I think it kind of happens everywhere. And the reason I think it happens a lot is because, as I always say on these videos, monogamy is very difficult. And I don't think we're really built for it, to be honest, as human beings. I don't think we're really set up for monogamy. I mean, we like the idea of it, but we're not very good at it in practice. And that's men and women, by the way. It's not just men, it's not just women, it's both. So monogamy is very difficult, and guys and women as well, but look, we're obviously talking mainly to men here. So guys like to have variety. We also like stability, by the way, and this is the bind. This is the bind that we all find ourselves in, because we kind of want a bit of both. We want the security, we want the snuggles, we want the Netflix and chill. We want to chill, we want to hang out with that special girl and have her cuddle us and tell us it's going to be all right, and all of that good stuff. But we also simultaneously want the variety as well. And how do you balance those two things in a conventional relationship? It's very difficult because, we've got this dichotomy, because on the one hand, as a species, we're not very good at monogamy. But on the other hand, culturally, in many societies, that's sort of what's expected. Now, obviously, that is changing, because we're reading more and more now, aren't we, about sort of polygamous relationships and open relationships and all that kind of thing. Now, what you're talking about really is a kind of a covert polygamy, I think is the correct term, where you're not necessarily telling your wife, well, I'm going to cheat, I'm going to mess around, I'm going to cheat, but that's what you're doing. So in effect, and Black Dragon has written about this in the past, Caleb Jones. You're not actually monogamous. You're pretending to be monogamous, but you're not, because secretly you're having a bit on the side. What do I think about it? Well, I mean, it is one solution. It's one solution, albeit an imperfect one, but it is one solution to the dichotomy that I believe we face as human beings, of not being particularly good at monogamy, but also wanting to have that special someone. It is a solution is to secretly go and have a bit of fun on the side on occasions, not tell the other person, hope that they don't find out about it so they don't get hurt, and theoretically everyone's happy. Is it the perfect solution? No, because you're not being honest. You're going behind the person's back. Obviously, if they do find out, they're going to be incredibly hurt, and they're going to be incredibly upset and feel betrayed and all the rest of it. Is it right to treat someone like that? No, no. I don't think in any conscience we can say that it's right. But people do it, and it is an attempt at a solution. I mean, another solution might be, just throwing it out there, don't get married and find a way to have an abundant dating life so that you don't need to cheat on anybody, and that is probably ethically the better way to do it. You want to be having non-monogamous relationships with different women. Some of them might be very close relationships, and they may even last for years at a time or whatever. But you're not making any promises. You're not promising exclusivity or monogamy. You're doing your own thing on the side, and so that therefore there's no betrayal. And even then, even when you do that, you can still end up hurting people. But at least you haven't married her and made these big promises. So yeah, something to think about. And I believe that now for men, actually, that is a very possible thing to do. And, people say, well, what about when you're the lonely old man and everything? But I mean, I know guys in their 60s who are still dating around. Maybe they've been married before, but they're dating around, they're having a good time. They're meeting different women and, they're not in committed monogamous relationships, but they are, they have closeness, they have intimacy, but they also have variety. And those are the two things that you want. So maybe a different model to consider is to not get married and just to keep dating until an older age. Now, eventually, I think we basically kind of run out of steam. We lose interest in sex. I mean, I've made videos last year talking about how losing interest in sex. I mean, I wouldn't say that's particularly the case right now. I think libido rises and falls when you get a little bit older, depending on the different factors. But I can definitely see a time when I'm just not interested anymore. Even now, to be honest, often I'm quite happy just to go home and, listen to an audiobook or watch some crap TV rather than going out and doing some dating, particularly when you're doing this as a job, because, you're spending time with other people, you're going around in social situations, you're helping them to get dating results. And then it's a bit like working at a chocolate factory. And then, do you want to take the chocolate home with you? Well, probably not, because you're sick of it, right? So variety of things there to think about. It is a solution. I don't believe it's the optimal solution, but in practice, it might be the one that you think is best for you to take up. But that's down to your own conscience. DigiNomad says, any book recommendations? Troy Francis everyone has a theory. Troy Francis goes out and approaches. Yeah, thanks very much. I mean, still out there banging the drum. What kind of books do you mean? What kind of recommendations would you like? Are we talking dating or are we talking different stuff? And then DigiNomad says, how do you keep your motivation as a refined gentleman? What's really left to conquer? I bet you did it all. I subscribe to Bachelor, pondering what's left for you once you did it all. Well, it's a good point, isn't it, really? I mean, I think that the problem with, and this maybe contradicts what I've just said somewhat, because the problem with perpetual dating is that perpetual dating itself also gets a bit old. It gets a little bit, you've been there, you've done that. Now, having said that, we are all sensual creatures, and the pleasure, the excitement, the wonder of becoming intimate with a new human being, I don't think that ever entirely gets old. But in a more general sense, they're going on the dates and talking about the same stuff and bloody, blah, the rigmarole of everything. You do get a bit tired of that. I think that, I mean, for me personally, this ambition is more about artistic projects, writing, creating great books, for example, creating good videos that people want to watch, creating content like that. For me, is more of a motivator than the actual dating side of things, ironically enough. So I would, and again, going back to what we were talking about earlier on in this show, ultimately the mission is more important, I think. I mean, connection with other human beings is, well, it's the age-old question, isn't it? Which is more important? Connection with other human beings is incredibly important, but so is your mission. And I think sometimes you have to prioritize the mission. And in the end, maybe the mission becomes more important. I can see a time when, for me, the mission which is more about what I create, is going to be more important than the dating or the sexual side of things. And I think that's going to be quite soon, to be honest. I don't think that's going to be in 100 years' time. I'm just going to put this in here. What else do we have? What's your health routine? Tristan Tate called you a vampire. He says you don't age. Your hair is better than 18-year-old. Cheers. Well, I haven't drunk for a long time, so that helps. I haven't taken drugs for a long time. That helps. I'm not married. That helps. I try to get a reasonable amount of sleep. I go to the gym. I drink water. I mean, nothing particularly, there's not some like freakish kind of thing that you never would have heard of. I just try and take pretty good care of myself. You know, I'm doing obviously weights and things, but I also do, I mean, I haven't been doing as much cardio this year, the last year, to be honest, but, you know, I do cardio as well. I think all of these things help, but I would say not drinking is a big thing. Not drinking really, really does take years off you, I think, or prevent you from aging to a large degree. Adam says, do you plan to maintain your current lifestyle in your 50s and 60s? Well, I don't see why not. And I think what I'm kind of doing, or what I've by default ended up doing, is a sort of social experiment on myself to see how long you can keep it going for. And I mean, obviously, I mean, there are certain things which are going to stop you, and health is a big thing, of course. But I know guys, because we work with guys in their 50s and in their 60s who are not living exactly the lifestyle I'm living, but they're certainly living a non-conventional, you know, lifestyle where maybe they're traveling, they're dating around, they're doing different things. And as I keep saying in these videos, I think the way the modern world is, with the technology that we have at our disposal, I think it's absolutely possible to continue living a similar lifestyle into your 50s and 60s, for sure. I think in the end, the question becomes, will you want to? You know, and even now, as I said just now, I mean, I'm less motivated really by the dating side of things. I mean, I'm interested in the dating side of things because of my job. And I've always found the way that people interrelate to be fascinating. But for myself, you know, I'm quite happy to have a hot bath and drink a cup of Ovaltine, or hot chocolate for American viewers, and read a good book. You know, I'm less motivated by the dating side of things myself. So yeah, I mean, you know, I think it's absolutely possible to continue to, say, travel and to date around and to do all these things as an older guy. The bigger question is, how long do you want to for, and then what does that look like? I mean, you know, I quite like traveling. I think it's interesting to go to different places. I've had a good time in Mexico City and, you know, here and everything else. But to be honest, you know, I also really, really enjoy just sitting around in London, and seeing friends, and, you know, just doing stuff there. You know, I don't have to be running around to these far-flung countries all the time. DigiNomad says you should do a pod with Alex from Playing with Fire. Torsha came through last night. He had good things to say about you. It would be a great collab. So, well, that's interesting. So did he mention me, Alex from Playing with Fire? I had some contact with him last year, actually. I know he's based in Miami, isn't he, as well? Which actually is interesting. Yeah, absolutely. No, I'd be interested in did he mention me personally, or what was his take? I don't know him very well, but I did have a little bit of contact with him last year, towards the end of last year. Seems like a good dude. So Peanut says, if I'm in good shape and financially steady, do you think I can date college girls as a guy in my 50s and 60s? I don't know, man. I mean, possibly, yeah. I mean, I mean, what age are we talking about? I mean, look, I don't like to advise people on the sort of age that they can date and stuff like that. I think it's down to personal preference. The only thing I would say on that is that, depending on where you're based, I think culturally age gap relationships are more acceptable in certain parts of the world than others, really. And then Max says, no, man, unless you're directly or indirectly paying for them. Indeed. And this guy said, yes, in the Philippines. Right, let's have a look at this one. Paul says, What's your thoughts on dating a much younger woman, a man, he's in his 50s, dating a woman in her 20s? Well, I mean, I don't have any real ethical issue with that. I think it's fine as long as both parties are, it's consensual and bloody, bloody, blah. I don't think there's any particular issue with it. I think it comes down to the personalities. I mean, I have generally dated women who are, so it's younger than me, and I've always had a great time with them. I've always got on very well with them because I'm incredibly immature, and I like to joke around with them and stuff like that. I found dating women who are younger than me to be a lot of fun. I think they bring a lot of vitality and sort of fun into the interaction, and that's cool. And if people would always say, well, it's better to date someone your own age because then they'll have the same memories and they'll remember the same things from TV programs when you were kids and all this stuff. I personally think actually a relationship is more interesting if there are differences, whether that's cultural differences, you're from a different cultural background, or differences because maybe you're slightly different ages and so you've got different reference points. I think that makes it more interesting, actually, personally, because I don't want to be, really sitting around reminiscing about stuff that I watched on TV in the 80s as a kid. I mean, why would I want to do that? I'd much rather hear about new stuff or stuff that I'm not familiar with, learn things from somebody else. So I think that they absolutely can work, but it really depends on the, 50s to 20s it's quite a big jump, isn't it? It's quite a big jump, but these things happen. I think it really depends on the individuals, to be honest. Yeah, that's it. Although I do know one guy who's, I think in his 60s and he's dating a woman in her 20s. Norton says, do you plan on having children? Not tonight, but let's see. Yeah, so okay, so talking about playing with fire, he says he reached out, had great things, wants you to come through, it'd be good for your channel growth. He's good faith. Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, I did have a chat with him last year, so that's an interesting one. You've reminded me, so let's see about that. But he seems, as I say, he seems like a good dude. So that would be interesting for sure. I used to do lots of collabs. I haven't done collabs for a while. I started to do them a little bit more recently. I've done a couple of things with Pearl, obviously doing Rule Zero with the Rule Zero guys, Rollo Tomasi and Ryan Stone and all of those dudes. What else? I did a couple of things. I did a podcast with Tallulah from The Feminine Truth, which was really good. Obviously still doing stuff with Tusk. But yeah, in terms of doing more collabs, absolutely for channel growth, it's really important. So that should really be a focus again for sure. Is that the same guy? Is it Max who always... Who's asking about these age difference things? Can a 33-year-old get away with being a 19-year-old, 23-year-old in the West? I don't really like answering these questions. I mean, 19's a bit young. A 23-year-old, I think absolutely. 19, I think, is a little bit young, to be honest. So I don't know. I mean, I think what do you get away with? I mean, no one's, it depends where you live. It depends on the attitudes of the people around you. I mean, if it was in London, for example, probably no one would really notice, so it wouldn't really matter. As I say, in the end, ultimately, it comes down to the individuals, how well they get on with one another. What's your biggest deal breaker in a relationship? I think if they try and take over, to be honest, if they try to take over and they try to, not saying I want to be controlling or anything, but if they try to, I mean, I think the problem is that as you get older, you get more set in your ways, right? And the problem for me personally as an individual is that I'm now extremely old and I've been in long-term relationships. I haven't been in that many living together relationships. I've only really been in 2 living together relationships, one of which went on for a while and was a complete disaster, and it was a very long time ago, and the other which lasted for a much shorter period of time and was also not a good situation. And so I'm very used to being independent. I'm used to, and it's not just about the travel and stuff like that. Even when I'm sitting around in London, I'm used to doing what I want to do. I go to bed when I want to get up. To go to bed, I get up when I want to get up. I do what I want. And having to make compromises for somebody else, I think becomes more and more difficult as you get older, because when you've been used to just doing what the hell you want to do for nearly half a century, then suddenly having somebody there saying, "Oh no, I want to go to bed at 11 o'clock, and we're going to watch the Goggle Box or whatever." I think that is very difficult, and yeah, so I think somebody who tries to be too controlling, I think that ultimately is a deal breaker. It's a problem. I mean, relationships are not easy. They're really, really not easy. And people think it's the great panacea, it's the great solution, and it really isn't. Well, Orthodox says, waiting for the next lad to ask if an 80-year-old should be dating a 19-year-old. I mean, yeah, come on. I mean, what are you reading now? Probably not game stuff. Any suggestions? Well, I'm reading. I'm reading Dickens. Which one am I reading? I'm reading David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, because I'm reading through a lot of the Dickens stuff that for one reason or another I hadn't read before, and I'm on David Copperfield now, which is actually really good. And I'm also, and I'm ashamed to admit this, but I might as well, because I also listen to audiobooks, and I'm listening to, drum roll please, Spare by Prince Harry. And it's pretty good, actually. I'm actually quite enjoying it. I mean, it's bloody long. It's like 700 chapters or something of him banging on. But it's quite interesting, actually, because it goes behind the scenes of him as a royal, of him as a prince. And I probably, there's not been a book like it before that sort of lifts the lid on what it's actually like being in the royal family. So it's pretty interesting. And, obviously he gets a lot of stick. Meghan gets a lot of stick. I've, criticized them, not on this channel necessarily, but to friends and things like that, for various things that have happened. But, he's a likable bloke, and he reads it himself. It's his own voice narrating the audiobook. He's a likable bloke. He's obviously been through a lot of stuff, a lot of crap with the press and with what happened with his mother and various other things. And, I'm not the biggest fan of what they did. I'm not the biggest fan really of Meghan, and all the rest of it, and the continual slating of the royal family. But, this is his story. And, it's hard not to warm to him, I think, as you read it. So, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I'm listening to that. But I listen to, aside from that, with the audiobooks, I tend to listen to a lot of self-development type stuff, or business books about sales, books about business, like Alex Hormozy, things like that. What I listened to last year, I need to get the older audiobook thing. Actually, I've got it here. Let's have a look. What else is on here? Yeah, so Spare by Harry, Millionaire Mindset by Craig Beck, oh God, To Say Is Human, The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter. Yeah, I've listened to a few Dan Kennedy books this year as well. Wealth Attraction, The True Believer by Eric Hoffer, $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozy. Yeah, lots of different things, really. But The Daily Laws by Robert Greene. So obviously, I'm a big Robert Greene fan, and I've got The Daily Laws as an audiobook, which is probably not really how you should read it, because it's meant to be a daily thing. But I'm listening to that, and that's really good as well. I liked Harry, but his poor hair after Meghan and marriage, he's no Troy Francis. He's definitely suffered in the follicle department, hasn't he? But I don't know, man. I mean, like I say, it's hard not to warm to him when you listen to the story. And actually, his stories about what happened in Afghanistan and stuff like that. He's done a lot. He's had an interesting life. I don't particularly. I mean, I've never been a fan of what they've done. You know, the slating of the royal family, the fact that the Netflix thing came out so soon after the Queen died, and all this. There's so many things, but at the same time, I guess there's two sides to every story, right? And it's kind of interesting seeing his side of it. So, how was your recent trip to CDMX, Mexico City? Yes, really good. I was talking about this earlier on in the stream. Really, really good. The only thing I would say is I messed up because I didn't see enough of the city because I was going to say lazy. I wasn't really lazy. We were there doing some work, basically. And so I was in Polanco for most of it, which is a really cool area. But I didn't see a lot of the other places. Like I wanted to go to where they shot the James Bond scene, you know, at the beginning of, is it Spectre, when he's in Mexico City, the building's all falling down and stuff. I just didn't get around to it. I mean, it's terrible, really. I was there for a week, but you know, first off, you've got the jet lag and you're kind of getting used to it. Then we were doing some work. We were making a lot of videos and doing different things. And then it was time to go. I was like, shit, I haven't seen anything. So I definitely like to go back. It's very, very cool. I would say for dating, it's good as well. A lot of very attractive women there. It's a very big population. So yeah, it's an overall, it's a thumbs up, definitely. You got game down, but you actually really got looks maxing down. Niche max. Care to elaborate? What's niche maxing? I'm not sure what niche maxing is. A great book is down now in Paradise about Anthony Bourdain. Great read if you get the chance. Yes, I don't know a great deal about Anthony Bourdain, but I'd like to learn more. So that might be one that I want to follow up with for sure. If you're in a group and a woman in this group keeps mentioning that you are so quiet to the whole group, what's the hidden meaning? Well, it might mean you're a bit boring. She's like, well, the fuck is this guy not talking? It might be that she fancies you. That's probably the answer you want, isn't it? You probably want to hear, oh, she was really attracted to you. So she's like, why is this guy so quiet? Hard to say, really, without being there and without, you know, seeing the context, I think. It could be that she's attracted to you and that she's saying it to the group because she wants you to talk so that she can get to know you. Or it could be that she thinks you're a bit weird because you're not saying anything. I don't really know. It depends on how she was looking at you and the context and everything else. Did you know, Matt, Mexico is amazing? Yes, I'm a big fan. I mean, obviously, we did Tulum and Playa last year and now Mexico City. There's some other locations I've been told are really good as well. So, yeah, I'm a big fan and the people are friendly, food's good, all of that stuff. So, yeah, it's all good. If anyone's got any final thoughts or questions, put them into the chat now. Otherwise, we can bring this one to a close quite soon because we are an hour and 20 minutes in. Swearworks says, it's a great city. East Polanco is also a great part of town, close to where you were staying. Also, Roma and Condessa. Yes, so those are just two of the places that I managed to not go to. Some of the guys went to Condessa because the other guys I was with, they know the city better. They've been there before. I think some of them went to Condessa. Rome, I know as well. I pretty much managed to fail to go to everywhere except Polanco. But next time, I'll definitely be back. I mean, it was a great place. I really liked it. Met some cool people and so on. Niche maxing would be more like refined gentleman, 007 or hipster, more like a specific niche. Well, yeah, I mean, I talk about this in, I talked about this in my course, CAD Academy, and I now have a new program called the Social Attraction System. If you're interested in that, it's an 11-week program. Drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, and we can get on the call and discuss. It's a very in-depth program. It's nearly 3 months long. It really goes down into the depths of dating and how to improve in these areas. But this is something that we talk about a lot because I think that you need to have an identity, right? You need to have an identity of some kind. Not just be the beige guy who wears Gap khakis and he's just one of the herd. You want to stand out in some kind of way. Now, I am morphing more into, and if you've seen some of the stuff I've been wearing over the last year and some of the, the looks that I've had, obviously I'm wearing suits a lot more. I'm wearing things like linen suits, that summer sort of look, that gentlemanly kind of old money look, as people like to say these days. and that's a deliberate choice. There are various inspirations for that, but essentially, I think as a guy who is, not getting on a bit, I think you've got to act your age. You've got to kind of look your age. You want to be stylish. You want to look good, but you've got to find an archetype that's appropriate for you. I mean, I can't be running around, like looking like Justin Bieber now, for example. I mean, that's just not going to fly, is it? It's just going to be ridiculous. So you've got to find archetypes or an archetype that suits where you are in your life and your own personality. Okay. And it's, and it's got to be partly based on, your age and what's realistic that you can get away with, but also what speaks to you personally. I mean, I've always loved the Bond films, and so on. And, so and also that sort of Italian style, linen suits and all this kind of thing. So yeah, that's I guess where I am at the moment. Why don't you write a game book like Tom Torero so we can use the book as a guide to day game? Well, I mean, I've written a bunch of books already called and you can buy all of them in a bundle. It's called Renegade Dating Blueprint. There is a link for it. There will be a link for it below this video. I will put the link there when we finish. There's a book in there called 7 Laws of Seduction, which is a very basic guide to going out and, getting on with dating. Day game specifically, I don't know. I mean, I'm much more interested really in what I would call social attraction now, which is, yes, you'll meet some people in the daytime. You'll also meet people at nighttime. You also might use the dating apps a little bit. It's a holistic approach, okay? Not just running around the shopping mall or anything like that, because obviously that behavior is, it's not very cool for a start. And secondly, it's not very, accepted these days. So you've got to be a little bit more subtle about these things, okay? A little bit more calibrated. And really, if you see somebody that you think is attractive and it's in an appropriate social setting, then yeah, go over and have a conversation. But I've got a video coming up soon about cold approach and why cold approach is a stupid term and we should stop using it. And I think it's much more about being social, but being calibrated and being a more sort of sensitive to our surroundings, let's say. Digi Nomad, once again, thanks for the value creator clips channel so we can drop a super chat. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but even if I did that, would that get monetized? I don't know. So it may be possible. I think the internet's dropping out a little bit here. All right. So any more questions, stick them in the chat. But I think we're going to probably call this one to a close now because we've been on for an hour and 20 minutes, which is quite a long time. And I need my beauty sleep. So yeah, here in Puerto Rico, we're going to be making more videos tomorrow. We're going to be going to the festival tomorrow night, which should be pretty cool. Try and get some footage from that. Show you what's going on down here because it's a pretty mental place. And we've got a few more destinations coming up as well. So you're going to be seeing some interesting stuff coming out in the next few weeks. As I say, I'm uploading videos pretty much. I'm uploading videos daily now of various different types, talking about these issues around dating and giving advice and so on and so forth. So hopefully you like that. I think people are liking the walking videos. I enjoy making them. Really getting a bit of a deeper dive into some of this content, but more collabs and so on coming up. Also, Swear Workers, I find apps still produce some great connections if you don't waste too much time in them when traveling. And that's very true. I mean, the apps, I mean, Tinder, Bumble, whatever. Certainly when traveling, those things can be really, really, really useful. Okay. And digitally, you've just got much more reach, when you're online as opposed to, you're going out and talking to people. So I think a blend of both works really well. I think if you see somebody who's attractive, and we're not talking about, this could be in a coffee shop or in a library or in the art gallery or, the hotel lounge lobby or whatever it is, you go and start a conversation with them for sure. And then if that conversation goes well, like, hey, listen, we should exchange numbers. You seem pretty cool. Maybe we can, grab a coffee or whatever. But it should be very low key and it should be very calibrated. Okay. But you can learn more about that in Social Attraction System, which is my 11-week course. If you're interested in that, drop me a line, troy@realtroyfrancis.com. And if you want to talk about any aspect of your dating life and, how this stuff is going for you and how, what you want to improve, and we can figure out a game plan for you, then there's a link below. You can get on my Calendly, book a free call with me, and we can have a chat, have a discussion about it, and see if we can work together. And look, if we can't, we can't. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to say, listen, I don't think I can help. If I do think I can help, then we're going to figure out, okay, what's the best way forward? Whether that is, some calls where we do some Zoom call online, or whether you become a student on the program, or whether we do work in real life together. So there's a variety of different things that we can do for sure if, you want to improve your results in dating in this wonderful year of 2023. All right, guys. Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you're watching this on the replay, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it. Do hit subscribe to the channel. Give the video a like. Give it a thumbs up. Put a comment below. Tell us what you think. And I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye.